Hello everybody and welcome to the BU podcast. My name is Jess and this week's episode is all about being a student with a disability. So I'm going to ask all of you to introduce yourselves and tell us what course you're on and what year you're in. Toby, go.
My name's Toby, I'm in third year and I'm a counselling psychology student.
My name's Missy and I'm on theatre and I'm a second year.
Lovely. Théo.
I'm Théo, I do history and politics and I'm a first year.
Lovely. And if you guys don't mind me asking, I'm going to go back round again. Would you mind telling us what your disability is? Starting with you again, Toby.
I am blind.
You are blind.
Very blind.
Very blind. Not just blind, very blind.
Very blind.
Lovely. Missy.
I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a soft tissue disorder.
Excellent.
I have spastic cerebral palsy, which just means that I've got very leg tightness and muscle tightness just all across my body.
Excellent. Well, not excellent, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us know.
It has its benefits.
Does it?
Yeah.
What are the benefits?
Theme parks. To be honest, you can skip queues. That's the only reason people go with me. I'm just being
That
honest.
can't be the reason. No, it's
I
just
can't. Well, it's got its benefits.
a small reason.
Small reason.
Yeah, excellent. Toby, we'll start with you. Why did you choose the University of Chichester, and did having a disability impact your decision on which university to go to?
Yeah, definitely impacted it. Originally I was going to go up north or stick in London, which is where I'm from. But the way they looked at disabilities was a bit different to down here. It's a lot smaller at Chichester than some of the bigger unis, so it's a bit more manageable. And they've got such good sort of disability regulations, I guess. They can put a lot of things in place, which is great.
Yeah. What kind of support do you have in place to make things easier for you?
I've got note takers.
Cool.
And on my stats modules, I've got someone who helps me with the, I guess you call it software. It's quite finicky, so I have someone to help me through that.
Yeah. Very cool. Missy, same question to you. Why did you choose Chichester, and did having a disability impact your choice?
Definitely. So because I do theatre, I was like, do I want to go to a drama school?
Yeah.
But they are very much like, you need to dance, you need to be able to do all this. And I thought it's probably not the most accessible thing for me to go to. So I chose a uni instead. And they were really good at my audition, and they sent me like, this is how we'll support you, basically before I even like accepted 100%. And so I was like, okay, this is kind of the place I want to go because I know that I'm going to be supported.
Yeah. Did that support beforehand kind of help you think like, oh yeah, this is...
Yeah,
this is
so
pretty
I
good?
was thinking of going to University of Sussex, and they hadn't sent anything. And I was like, Chichester have.
Yeah.
Like, they've clearly read all of my notes that we sent in.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is going to be a good place to go to.
Oh, that's really nice. And Théo, same question to you.
So I think personally, for me, I was looking more at the course at first because it was more of a research interest that I came here for specific modules. But then my big requirement was, is the place flat?
Yeah,
If the
that's
place
a
is
good
flat,
question.
then that's an extra bonus point.
Yeah.
So at that point, I just decided, well, Chichester have showed an interest and engage into the notes I've sent to them about my disability.
Cool.
They started the conversation early, and I think that really, to me, showed a value in me as a student or as a prospective student at the time. And yeah, I think everything came together, and alongside with a specific research interest in more modern history,
Yeah.
I think I ended up at the best place for me.
Oh, excellent. Big question. Is Chichester flat
Yes, actually.
in parts? Can imagine it's not flat everywhere.
Not flat everywhere.
No.
But you know, I make do.
Excellent. I'm trying to think of any like massive hills in Chichester, and I can't.
No.
But then again, it's never something
To
I've
be
ever
honest,
thought
it's
about.
just 4 rows that cross.
Yeah,
If you think about it.
it is basically. Yeah, no, Chichester's
So
tiny.
that's just good.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Easy to navigate.
Quite potholey, though.
Very
Oh,
potholey.
it's
Very
very
potholey.
potholey.
Again, if you try and complain to a council, they'll get back to you in 3 months, and they said, "What's the problem? Your potholes just got bigger,
Yeah, it's like
So,
they keep
yeah.
getting bigger. One day Chichester will just be one big pothole.
or just one big sinkhole."
Yeah, or a sinkhole. One of the two. It's going to go one of those two ways. Anyway, we've gone off piste. Théo, we'll stick with you for the next one. Would you mind explaining a little bit about your disability and how it affects your day-to-day life?
So, I would say that my disability just affects me in the way that So if we're talking about what my disability is, it's basically the brain signals that control my leg movements and my hand movements on my left side particularly are weaker than my brain signals on my right side and my upper body in general. So it doesn't make walking impossible, and I think with cerebral palsy, it's very doable to walk if you decide that's what you want to be. But I think I got introduced to a wheelchair when I was 6, when I was in France. And yeah, from the age of 6, I've always been in a wheelchair, so it's always what I've known. And day-to-day living in a wheelchair, I think that it gives me the independence that I want. And
That's good.
yeah, so I think that with my disability, there are so many different versions, and there are so many different ways to cope. It's more about how you do it individually.
Yeah.
But I would say for me, I found comfort and the most independence in how I found the wheelchair to be that device for me to be more independent.
Yeah, that's good. And just a follow-up question, what was it like growing up with a disability?
Again, when you realise you're a mini car and you have the potential to run people over, it's actually quite fun.
Oh,
But
do you often run people over?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, to be honest,
But it's nice to hold that threat over people.
It is, but I think it's a sign of maturity actually. So
running somebody over. Yeah,
I actually think I'm proud of that.
Well done. We're all proud of you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Missy, same question. I'll say it again because we've had a big long chat. Would you mind explaining a little bit about your disability and how it affects you day to day?
So EDS is a soft tissue disorder. Affects collagen in your body. Mm-hmm. So it affects like anything made of soft tissue, so like muscles, skin and organs basically.
Wow.
So it's very different. It's quite a spectrum. But what that means for me is just kind of I dislocate like all of my joints in my body.
Oh.
And I've got a few like conditions linked to it from like where my organs have gone a little bit weird. And so for me, it's just basically about like trying to manage everything at once. And one thing goes wrong and so everything else goes wrong.
Oh, no.
So it's basically about like just trying to stay on top of everything and like managing that in everyday life basically.
Yeah. Is it like different day to day? Like you wake up and you're like, well, what's going to be an issue today? Oh, it's this.
So it's very episodical. So I have days where I like cannot walk at all. I have days where I can walk a little bit. I can't walk loads.
Yeah.
But it's kind of very much I wake up on the day and I figure out what's wrong. And so it's quite fun to manage, and obviously that at uni is quite like a weird situation because I'll be fine the day before and then the next day I need so much extra support than I did the day before, and it kind of is quite hard to navigate, but everyone seemed to be just quite chill with it. I come in my chair and they're like, okay,
Like,
it's a wheelchair day.
Yeah.
Just a small question: am I missing out much on the walk-in? Like, is it a 5-star review?
I say I'm not the best person to ask because my walking is also not the greatest. But, you know, it's quite nice to be able to just quickly get across a room and instead of having to find a path to get around.
To be honest, worst comes to worst, I just crawl.
Just crawl. Yeah, fair enough. Fair play. So do you find that you have to use your wheelchair quite often, or is it like not overly?
So it's so difficult. So when I like wake up in the morning, it's like legs, crutches, or my wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so
it's nice to have a choice.
Exactly. I get a nice little pick in the morning. Normally it's not that big of a choice. I kind of get thrown into it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just, it depends on the week how much I use it. And sometimes I won't use it at all. And then other times I'll be in my wheelchair every day of the week.
Yeah.
So.
I suppose you could, I'm just suggesting a fourth option for you here, is just hiring somebody to carry you everywhere.
Yeah. I
like
think
a permanent piggyback kind of situation.
Yeah, I think that could work. I might need to look into it.
Forward. Yeah. If you win the lottery, you can hire somebody to just carry you around. There you go. You're welcome. You can have that for free. And what was it like growing up with EDS?
So really weird because I was only diagnosed when I was 15 because it's quite rare.
Yeah.
And no one knew what it was. And it got worse over my life. So more things started to like crop up and stuff. So it's quite scary growing up because all of a sudden things started to go wrong and we didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
But then I got diagnosed and things kind of made a lot more sense and I knew exactly what was going on then.
Yeah.
And so it was just a bit weird because my whole like younger life I didn't know what was wrong but I knew something was.
Yeah.
But when you don't have a diagnosis, I was like, I don't have support for the things that like I need to ask for because I don't know what I need to ask for.
Yeah.
But glad I got my diagnosis now.
That's good. So when you got the diagnosis, did it kind of open loads of doors and be like, oh, that makes perfect sense. This is what I need. This is how you can help me?
And also they knew what conditions were linked to it. So they were like, wait, you've been having this symptom for a while, let's look into this. And kind of, they pieced together all of my conditions and went, okay, this is you now.
A nice gift basket of conditions for you.
Yeah, basically.
What a nice gift that must have been.
A great mystery of disability. You
Yeah.
never know what you're going to get.
Oh,
It's like a lucky
what a
dip.
treat.
They'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, you've had a bad stomach for a few days. Here you go.
Oh, no. That's so unfortunate. Right, Toby, same question for you. Would you mind explaining a little bit about your disability and how it affects your day-to-day life?
Yeah, so I got retinitis pigmentosa. My accent didn't do that any favours. It's a genetic condition. So I used to have sight, not great, but I've always been visually impaired. It got worse as I grew up.
Oh, no.
So now I'm 96% blind is what they say.
Yeah,
So we'll call it fully blind.
may as well.
Yeah,
Round up.
yeah, I'll take that card.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect me in the sense, but I wake up and I'm like, oh, blind. It's more, I just have to be hyper aware of where I am, what I'm doing. Making a cup of coffee isn't just grab the kettle, put it over your cup. It's, okay, kettle's there, cup's here, got to move it, got to feel it.
Yeah.
Make sure the water doesn't burn you, that kind of thing.
God.
But no, it's just, I do the same things as everyone else, just in a different way.
Yeah.
But then I must say, your senses must be amazing.
Yeah, I was
You'd
just going to
think-
ask about that.
You'd think.
Oh, no.
But do you know what? If I did a hearing test with any of you, I reckon we'd be like the same. I'm just more, I don't know, I'm just better at using it, I guess. Like, no offence.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
that's
better.
okay. You can hold that over all of us. You're better
take
at
it.
using your other senses.
Yeah, they're more efficient, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
say they're any better. I think that's a bit of a misconception, maybe.
No.
But,
Just.
yeah, I'm not super powered, unfortunately.
Oh, damn it! That was my next question.
Sorry.
Toby, do you have a superpower?
No,
Oh.
no, I do not.
Well, right. Well, we may as well just end the podcast here then, shall we? So, what was it like growing up with your disability?
I was able to do everything other kids could. So growing up was okay. I wasn't too different, so I didn't get that kind of discrimination, I guess. It was more when I reached teenage years, and you start to realise, oh, it's kind of deteriorating.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit scary, and it just takes a lot of adjustment and like a bit of self-control, because you can lash out at people when you know that things are going to shit.
Yeah.
So
That's perfectly reasonable. So, Toby, we'll stick with you, and I'll just go back around the circle. What has your experience been so far having a disability at university specifically?
it's been good. I think it would have been very different if I wasn't at this uni. As I said when I was talking about being here, like the uni's really, really good at accommodating what you need. I was worried about sort of making friends and stuff and like acceptance and whatnot. But that's been great. Everyone's so open at uni, and you find someone, like a group of friends for everyone. Everyone likes everything. So, but yeah, it's difficult. I get very fatigued when doing work. So when sort of this time of year, things pile up and you get a little bit stressed. But that's the same as everyone, really, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a stressful time of year.
Yeah.
I can imagine being asked to do a podcast has just added to that stress, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tut. So is the campus accessible for you?
It's a tough one. It is in most places. The uni house where we are now is an absolute nightmare.
Agreed.
Absolute nightmare. But generally, yeah. So the way I walk around is with a cane, and that kind of feels ahead of me. So there's kind of some random bollards around and random poles sticking out of the ground, but once you learn them, it's all good.
Yeah. Do you find that you have like learnt the campus and you kind of know where you are and where you need to be?
Yeah, again, the uni were really good.
That's good.
They gave me someone at the beginning when, it was 2.5 years ago now, took me to where my classes would be, showed me my halls to the sort of canteen area, everywhere that I'd go.
Yeah.
And they did that with me until I knew it off by heart and haven't looked back since.
Oh, that's really cool.
If I could look back. Haven't thought about it since.
Yeah. See, I feel bad for laughing at that, but
No, it's okay.
here we are.
That's right.
Missy, what has your experience been so far having a disability at uni?
I think it's like been better than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to really struggle. There's obviously issues like that other students don't necessarily face, which makes things feel a little bit more like stressful, because if I was going to be doing loads of work and we have loads of rehearsals and stuff, it's very much like people can do the long rehearsals and it makes me so tired, and then if we have one the next day as well, it's very much like, oh well, I'm going to really struggle to come in for like long days every single day.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone's been really chill about it. Like they all know. And so sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm going to come like an hour late to rehearsal tomorrow so that I can make sure that I'm like rested so I can do the rest of the rehearsal. And they're like, okay. And it's been quite good. I think I've got a few like equipment stuff from DSA, which really help. I've got like a special desk that like moves up and down. So I can like stand up with my desk if I'm too painful to like sit down and stuff. And I've got keyboards that like work around my hands because they're a little bit like fiddly and they don't quite do what I want them to do all the time. And they've just got loads of equipment, so that was a massive help. Like I think applying to DSA was like the best thing I did because it really helps me be able to keep up with like the work when I'm at home.
Yeah, that's very, very handy. Théo, same question for you. What has your experience been so far having a disability at uni?
So firstly, I'd like to specify that the course that I'm on is 2 very heavy writing subjects. And because I can't write, or I find it difficult to write at all, I was like, how am I going to do this? But again, Stephen, head of disability here, has been lovely. I got assigned a note taker very quickly. So I think in terms of all the academic stuff, I've not been that concerned because I still have very good access to lectures, and just having those notes and having an actual copy of everything that was said in the lecture emailed to you, and then you can guide your revision just based on that.
Yeah.
And also big shout out to recording software, so you can record your own lectures, so you can listen back. So if you revise more in an audio fashion by listening to stuff, it's very helpful as well. But again, and I think on a more personal level, everything is really good in my accommodation. I think one thing that really impressed me touring accommodation before I came here actually was the actual facilities in accommodation and having a kitchen which had lower facilities. So basically, I could actually cook, which from home is not something that I was used to. And I think if we're talking about a conversation about independence, I think having that ability or having the appliances there to make sure that you can be as independent as possible, such as cook your own food. That is a massive help and a massive gain on something that really motivated me, and has made me really pleased to be here.
So, do you receive support from the student support team?
Again, as I said, Stephen has been great, and again, I've also been very surprised about how little I've had to go to Stephen, and that's the most positive review I could actually give of the university with disability support. The less you have to go to someone to say, "Oh, I need something for my disability," the more it's a glowing review of like you've actually given these group of people their bubble of independence, which they would normally have, to live coherently and live as normally as the next student. So I think the greatest review I could give of Stephen and his department, or the work he's done, is that I haven't had to go to him.
Oh, that's really great. That's good. We'll go with the student support team. Well done. Missy, do you use the student support team, and if so, what do they provide you with, or how do they help you?
I think the same. I pretty much only spoke to him before I went to uni because we were working out what kind of accommodations I needed, like in my accommodation as well as in my classes and stuff. I've only really had to go there once because my lift broke and it was a bit of a nightmare. And they didn't fix it for like 2 months. So it was an absolute nightmare. But they did end up fixing it. It was one of the tricky lifts where they'd fix it, but then it would break the next day. So they had to like send out people like,
we won't shout out to that specific lift.
Yeah, like this lift is just not working. No. But I remember there's a student nurse here, and they had I had contact with her basically. If my friends couldn't get hold of me for whatever reason, like had got unwell in my room and I was like struggling, they could get the nurse to come and check on me. Nice. And we had that like permission to be like, maybe I've gotten unwell in the night and I'm not able to contact anyone. And so they've been able to do that, and that was a really nice touch that they did. I never used it, But it was really nice. But you can also contact security as well. So I don't know that that's a specific thing. That was a really nice search. And she messaged me when I got really ill in first year.
Oh.
And was like, being like, if we need anything when you get back, let us know. And it's really sweet.
Oh, that's really sweet. So you've both mentioned accommodations. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail by that. What kind of specific things did you need in your accommodation when you were looking around?
For me, I just needed like a lift mainly.
Yeah.
I don't need loads of accommodations. I can sit down I just bring a little dining room chair over and sit down when I cook if I need to.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that like I needed a specific. I didn't have like a disabled student room necessarily, but we made sure that my room was big enough for me to like get around in if I needed to.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Toby, same question for you. Did you have any kind of specific requirements for your accommodation, or did you live in halls in your first year?
Yeah, I lived in halls first
Excellent,
year.
cool. First question.
No, I didn't. Stupidly, I actually said I'd go on the first floor rather than the ground floor.
Oh dear.
So I had to walk up the stairs all the time.
No.
But it's a lazy issue, not a blind issue. I didn't want to live on the ground floor because like students walking past being noisy, and I get angry when I don't get sleep. So
yeah, that's fair.
worst thing is an angry blind man. Really, you don't want one of them.
That's what I hear they say.
Yeah, it's,
Worst
legend
thing
has
is an angry
it.
blind man.
Yeah, no, there was nothing really. I wanted an ensuite because obviously things like toothpaste, toothbrush that are mine. Like I don't really want to be feeling other people's toothbrushes, and I don't think they want me feeling their toothbrushes.
Oh no, that's a bit weird.
So ensuite for me,
Yeah.
and I was catered. But other than that, no, it's just a normal room.
Yeah. So did the uni get in contact with you before you started to ask if you needed anything specific?
Yeah, they did, and they tried to persuade me to have a ground floor room, which I kind of regret now. Should have taken them up.
Oh dear. Looking back, big regrets.
Yeah.
Théo, did the university contact you before you started to ask if you needed anything?
Honestly, as soon as my application went through UCAS,
Yeah.
like a week and a half later, I get an email from Stephen, and it's like, when are you free to come and visit our accommodation? I was like, Jesus Christ. Well, to be honest with me, it was like kind of a whole checklist.
Yeah.
It was ensuite facilities. It was a walk-in bathroom. Not that I can literally walk into a bathroom, but it's literally an open-style bathroom where you had kind of a shower seat where I could transfer onto, and then I could shower, and then just a bath for the toilet so I could transfer, and just a lower bed. And again, I wasn't expecting anything for the kitchen because as Toby mentioned, I was going to go with the catered plan, and I am on the catered plan.
Yeah.
But I think one surprise that actually Stephen had in store for the flat that I looked at was that, again, I mentioned it earlier, the actual kitchen facilities.
It's lower.
Lower kitchen facilities, which actually got me really excited at the potential of actually me trying to be independent and actually cook.
Yeah.
I can't say it's been successful, but
I was going to ask, can you?
I'm only on the basic stuff. But
That's all right. It's nice to have the option.
But regardless, I think even the welcoming of like seeing these facilities when you come here, it excites you because it shows that, and because they contact you first and you don't have. I think what also won me over is that Stephen contacted first, and I wasn't the one that needed to create that start of conversation, because I don't know if you guys would agree with me, with disability, especially in education, or just generally actually, you kind of need to be the one that starts the conversation first about access and requirements, DSA, whatever. You need to be the one that starts the conversation. So once someone comes to you and says, well, we've got this in place for you if you do come, that's just another real positive
must have taken the pressure
sign
off
about the department and how they deal with disability in general.
Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Yeah, I think they like offered things to you as well. So something that like maybe you felt like cheeky asking for. You felt like I don't need it 100%, but they'd like offer you it, and you'd be like,
never turn it down.
No, exactly.
No, never turn it down.
And they'd be like, well, we can do this, we can do that for you.
Yeah.
And it was so much nicer because I think like going to uni was the first time I lived on my own. So it was like I don't 100% know what accommodations I need.
No.
Completely, because obviously at home if something, like if I can't do something, I've got, like my parents would just like help me out with it.
Yeah.
Whereas like coming here, I was like, I don't know what I need. I don't know what I'm going to struggle with.
Yeah.
Whereas they were like, because of this, you might struggle with this. Do you want this? And it's kind of, it was so much easier.
That's very cool. Can you remember, what did they offer you? Was that like £1,000?
Well, I remember they were really caught up on the fact that my shower had a little shower step, and it was literally like this big. It wasn't a big shower at all.
Yeah.
And they were like, are you going to be okay with it? And I was like, I will be. It's okay. I can step up that much.
Yeah. Oh, it's quite nice that they asked, though.
Yeah, like they checked in about it about 3 times, been like, are you 100% sure you can get up the step? And I was like, I can, because I don't need to have a shower seat. I do sit down in the shower, but I can sit down on the floor of the shower, so it's fine.
Did they have a solution to the little tiny step? Was it like a little tiny ramp?
I couldn't tell you. Maybe I should have asked.
You
I'd be
should
like,
have
what could you do
asked.
instead?
Cool. It's homework for you.
I
after
hear
this.
tiny things are the trend as well, so.
Yeah, exactly. I'm tiny. Rock and roll. Just
Rock
throwing
and
that in there. So, Toby, what positive experience any experiences do you have of being here at this uni?
Any?
Doesn't.
It's quite a few.
Oh. Pick one. Pressure's on.
Just one.
No, you don't have
It's
to pick
tough,
one.
that. I'd definitely say the social aspect, because it's quite small here compared to other unis. Everyone knows everyone. So I think it's nice when everyone comes up to me, everyone knows that I can't see. Well, it's quite obvious, but everyone knows.
Yep.
I remember in my first week, people just coming up to me being like, hi, it's such and such, which is such a big thing for me because I don't normally know who's speaking to me. And just realising, like I can fit in here rather than being put to the side. So there's no specific one scenario I can give you, but just like the general socialising of it's been brilliant.
Yeah, that's really cool. Missy, same question to you. Any positive experience?
Yeah, I think the same. Like, everyone here was just so accepting, and anything that I need in a class, like the classmates, even if I've met them like a few times, they're happy to offer to do it for me. And like, I'll come into a room, there'll be no seats, and someone will stand up like instantly. I don't say anything and they just know. And I think it was really good. Like, no one here I've ever had an issue with where they're like really rude or like unaccepting. And so it works really well like in classes and stuff, because I don't need to constantly advocate for myself, because people will remind. And I, like, my lecturers use clear masks because I'm hard of hearing, and like my friends will remind the lecturers for me if they've put on the wrong mask, and like it's just so nice. Like, I feel like it's a really nice community here, and I live with people who I met on my course, and they are like amazing. They'll just like, I'll be in my chair and I'll be like, I'm really tired, and they'll be like, we'll push you, it's fine. And we'll go to class together. It just works. Like, the community is really nice here.
That's really nice. Théo, same question for you.
Well, I've only been here since September, but I've got to say, as Toby mentioned, I think the idea of friendship and that social life is. I've always said before I came here, I was very much a person that kept to myself at sixth form.
Yeah.
And I think coming here, has shown me that I can actually be more of a social person, and I think I've enjoyed it. It's been a transition. I'll say that, but yeah, I've enjoyed getting to know more people, because you kind of have to. Like, you're thrown into a situation freshers week, especially first freshers week being back on campus as well, that you meet so many people that it's like, hi, I know you. I can't put a face to a name, but I've seen you around.
Yeah.
And yeah, it triggers some anxiety at points, but it's all right. And I think one thing that I do also like is the idea that I wasn't threatened by the idea that a lecturer would judge me for being at the back with a note taker or something, because I think in previous in education environments, I've been in situations especially with LSAs and teachers, where they kind of take pity on you, and they kind of do the stereotypical, we'll talk more slowly when we're addressing a one-to-one issue. But it's just been natural conversations with my academic advisor, Andrew. And yeah, I think especially as a cohort of things, I think socially it's been very, very, very good. I think the academic team and my history and politics department has been lovely, beyond anything that I'd expected from anything that I'd seen at secondary or even primary.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice to hear. Toby, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you about TikTok now.
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm cringing.
You're cringing? You don't need to cringe. Can you just explain to us what happened and how you went TikTok viral?
Yeah, so I went with my girlfriend to see Russell Howard, and they do it in front of a live audience. And somehow I got put in the front row. Don't really know why a blind person needs to be in the front row. It's not much of a view. But they put me in the front row, and he has a support act come on, and he gives a spotlight, is what he calls it, every week. And he's got cerebral palsy, and that's his main sort of caveat to his act.
Yeah.
We haven't got much material apart from that. I've got to say.
No, he called himself a wobbly elephant.
That's all we've got. So.
No, to be fair, he was good. He did have humour. But yeah, so he said, give me a cheer if you like cerebral palsy. I did cheer. I want to make this very clear. I did cheer. I mean, I don't love cerebral palsy. I don't like, it's not...
no offence taken, no offence taken.
But I definitely cheered.
Good.
Social pressure. And he pointed me out and said, you didn't cheer, mate. And he was like, what's your problem? What's your favourite disability? So I held up my cane and everyone went a bit mental. And I've been stopped in the street and asked for pictures with the cane.
Oh
Not
my
just
God.
just the cane as well. Holding it up in the exact same way. I think it's got over 3 million views on TikTok or something.
But I'd just like to specify, because you don't know exactly where the cane was positioned yourself.
I've got called I've honestly, they've ripped me apart in the comments section for not being blind. They're like, he looked at the cane before he picked it up. I was like, so I didn't point my head to the ceiling when I bent down.
Conspiracy theory confirmed.
Yeah, I'm
all
not
disabilities
blind.
are fake.
Just wanted
So
front row
really the
seats,
cane
mate.
is more famous than you are?
Oh, it's always been more famous.
So we should be talking to the cane, not
Its
you.
name's Michael, if you want to talk to it.
Is your cane actually called Michael?
Michael Caine, isn't it?
Michael Caine. That's genius.
So
Puns
that's
for
quite
days,
lazy.
puns for days.
I mean, I wouldn't suggest speaking to him. He doesn't really speak back. I've
No,
tried. I've tried.
Oh, that's really funny. Sorry, give me a minute. Okay.
If you want comedy, just go disabled.
Yeah, honestly.
That's your number one route.
Self-deprecating,
Michael Caine.
dry. Michael Caine. I mean, he's never got that response before. Normally it's like, oh, sick. That's cool. I think I'm sad because I've named my cane.
It's a really funny name. Sorry, it's making me cry.
Are we done with TikTok now?
Yeah, we are. I'm going to ask you a different question now, Toby. What are the main things that listeners need to learn about having a disability at university?
I can only speak from my experience, obviously. But if you don't have a disability, you have to be open-minded to these things and be adjustable. But if you do have a disability, like, it's not something to be conscious about. Mm-hmm. Everyone's more than willing to do whatever they need to, not in a pity way, but just because everyone's nice.
Yeah.
And just don't let it get in the way. Don't not do something like go out with friends or, you know, go to lectures because you think you can't because of your disability. Mm-hmm. Like, there's always going to be things that can be adjusted.
Yeah. Missy, same question to you. What are the main things that listeners need to learn about having a disability at uni?
I think that it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. And again, like, people just generally are quite accepting. I was worried that I would kind of be one of those people that went like exclusively to my lessons and then kind of didn't really do much else. But it, you know, it's never really been an issue. Nights out in my wheelchair, quite good. Never have to fight for a table. People kind of move around for you. But it's like my friends, it doesn't like get in the way. I was worried that it was going to be like my friends are like, oh, this is really annoying. Like we can't, you know, we're going to have to kind of look after me. And that's not the case at all. And I think that like my biggest fears was like going to be like being like a burden on like my lecturers and my classmates and things like that. But it literally wasn't. And no one really cares. Oh. So it's quite good.
So the tagline is nobody really cares.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool. We'll take that away. Thank you. End of podcast. No, Théo, is there anything you feel that needs to change or that people need to do to allow you to be more yourself?
Actually, I'm going to say no, because I think with disability, And I don't want this point to come across as you have to do all this soul searching, but I think with disability in uni, it's more about how you deal with your own image of yourself going to university.
Yeah.
But I think with disability, it's really just about breaking the limits you kind of put on yourself, because with disability, I think there is a natural inclination of oh, you can't do this, so I won't do that. And again, I have done that myself. I'm not going to shy away from. I have used sometimes, like especially with more immaturity, I have used my disability as an excuse to get out of things through social pressure and through not wanting to be that social. But I think if you come here and you're going to have to adjust quickly to a social setting, because it is sociable with 5,000 people at the end of the day, you're going to know everyone.
You have to talk to somebody.
You have to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So you are going to become more social, and at some point you will realise that no one here will actually judge you, because what do they get from judging you? Like, it's a community of individuals. It's a community of individuals that come together and work well as a collective.
Yeah.
So I think the answer to your original question was no, because I think most of the work that you have to do is with yourself.
Yeah.
And if you do the work with yourself, you'll be very surprised when you actually get here. When you get to any university in general, regardless of size, regardless of degree, regardless of course, regardless of friendship, regardless of sexual orientation, gender, race or whatever, or disability.
That's solid advice. Yeah, absolutely.
Poetry.
Yeah, absolute poetry. Spot on. Screw comedy. Go into poetry. Sorted. So, Toby, what advice would you give to someone with a disability applying to Chichester?
Just go for it if you think it's the right place and it's the right course. I think it's important to look at the course first. I think I made a bit of a mistake when I was applying, in the sense that I was looking for what would suit me rather than what the course would give me.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Chichester was the perfect blend of both. But yeah, just be sensible with it, and there's not really much to say. I think just embrace your disability when you get here.
Yeah.
Just embrace it.
That is good advice. Missy, what key thing would you like listeners to take away from this episode and learn about disability?
I guess that, like, uni is so much what you make it, and so much, like, you can, like, come to uni and basically write your own story, and you don't need to be, like, a disabled student at uni. Like, you are just a student. Kind of like, I feel like this uni doesn't make you feel like you are other. Like, it doesn't make you feel like you're this person that is, like, separate to everyone else. Like, I feel like coming to uni, I'm me, just more independent.
Yeah.
And I think it worked so well.
How it should be. So is there anything else that any of you want to say before we wrap things up? Anything you want to add? Anything you want to mention?
I'd just like to say, I've got a little anecdote here.
Yes.
Yes, everyone on campus is lovely. Don't mess with the old people in Chichester.
Oh, God, no.
Do not
like-
mess
Oh,
with the
God.
old people
Like
in
the elderly
Chichester.
people of Chichester?
No. I was walking home from the gym the other day, and I just trained legs, so I was kind of walking like a toddler. And obviously I was using
If
my
you need
cane.
my wheelchair, just give me a message.
Honestly, it might be a shout. So I was walking like I didn't have any knees. And I was obviously using my cane, and an old person like kind of walks past me, doesn't break stride when saying this, says, "I thought that cane was for blind people, not for cripples."
Oh!
And I had to stop for 5 minutes and just die of laughter on the side of the road. Didn't break stride. I was like, it was leg day. So be careful around the pensioners of Chai.
Yeah, don't mess with them. They've
Don't mess
been
with
here
them.
forever.
They're crazy.
Yeah, they own the place. Missy or Théo, is there anything you'd like to say or mention, or anything? You don't have to.
I'd suggest that just come talk to us, because I just think you can always make a friend out of us, and you can
Yeah.
always talk. And for me especially, I don't know about you two, but no question is too much.
No.
So if you've got a question about disability, ask away.
That is good, solid advice.
Solid.
Yeah. Poetry. Yet again. It's just been an episode all about
humanities student.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, very true. So, If you want to join the conversation or contact the university, you can message us on Instagram at University of Chichester, or Twitter at ChiUni, or TikTok at University of Chichester, or you can email us on studyhere@chi.ac.uk. So I just want to say thank you to all three of you. Théo, you're going to say something?
Your reaction when the two words TikTok came up.
Haunted.
It just
bring out Michael Caine
Oh.
to end it off.
Oh, do you know what? If I could find him, I would. Is he I think he's down there, under the Vans bag somewhere.
Hopefully.
So I just want to say thank you to all three of you for coming along today and chatting to us all about your disabilities and just kind of letting us know everything.
Thank
It's
you
very
for
cool.
having
us.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming. Thank you. Bye-bye.